Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Ryan Harper Show. This is the live version, okay? So we're going to be live streaming. We're going to be keeping up to date with the news stories that come out on Instagram, such as from Fox News, ABC News, CBS News, etc. But I also want to get to an RFK Jr. interview that he just did with CBS News recently, actually a day ago. CBS let him on to their program, finally. Okay, they never let him on. CBS, MSNBC, CNN, those networks never, ever, ever let RFK Jr. on to speak, and they rarely ever talk about him, and when they do talk about him, they're constantly telling lies. They say he's an anti-vaxxer. He's not, okay? They spread so much misinformation all the time. It's insane. It's absolutely outrageous. I mean, you have to be honest about that. We have to call out the media. Otherwise, there's going to be issues, you know? There's going to be issues with the way our system runs. Because when the media is telling you lies, you're not getting facts. And what is the whole point of the news? Is to get the facts. Okay? Now, on a show like mine, I break down my opinion, okay? So I share my opinion. So it's a little bit different than a news program, but it is a news show because I do feature news in the show, but I also give my opinions, etc. So just keep that in mind. Now, we have some stuff to get to. Like I said, a ton of news that's going to be coming out. We're going to be keeping track with the Instagram posts that come out live, okay? So as a new one drops, or as, you know, Fox News releases a new post onto Instagram, ABC News releases a new post onto Instagram, we will look at it together live. Okay, so let's hop into this RFK Jr. interview, and we will play it. So here we have the RFK Jr. interview. Now, like I said, this is from CBS. He went on to CBS News, and they had this interview. We're gonna play it here and just see what he had to say. We're gonna try and show the full clip, so the full 42-minute interview, just so you guys can get the full message in full length. So let's get started.
Welcome to the very best part of my broadcast week. Welcome to Nashville. No meal this week, and being in Nashville makes that a bummer. We are interviewing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. If you're interested, you don't need a summary from me. You're going to be with us. If you're not interested, no summary from me is going to entice. So without further ado, my interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., thanks for spending time with CBS.
Thank you for having me.
Why do you want to be president?
I feel like our country has gone off the rails. That the America that I grew up with is that somehow we've, both political parties, have lost track of what America's supposed to look like, that we're supposed to be a country that is nurturing a middle class rather than Wall Street. That we're a nation of moral authority around the world rather than a nation that leads with war, that we lead with diplomacy, that the people run our government rather than the corporations that have captured it in this corrupt merger of state and corporate power, that our children are the healthiest children in the world today. They're the sickest. 60% of our kids now have chronic disease. When my uncle was president, it was only 6%, and there's no other nation that has anything like that. We're mass poisoning our children with processed foods. We have 1,000 ingredients in our foods that are illegal in Europe. We're destroying our soils, which was, is the basis of our economy, of our history, of our culture. And we have opportunities now in the future that are going to come from technology like AI and blockchain. But those technologies can also be used to destroy democracy,
Okay, so what he's saying here is absolutely true. I just want to be absolutely clear. Okay, so he's talking about AI. It can be destructive. It can also be very helpful. And so we have to take both into consideration. We have to look at both sides of the situation here, because there is going to be risks that pop up. Such as, we're already seeing it with, like, movies, for example. People are able to make AI movies. They don't even have to work on a movie anymore. They don't even have to work on a song anymore. They can just use AI to create it. And that is crazy, because the real artists, the real people who are actually doing real things to make a movie, to make a song, okay, those people don't get any credit because the people using AI are getting more credit. Alright, so that is a real issue, and he is 100% correct. There's real risks. That's why we need to evaluate the risks, evaluate the benefits, and move forward appropriately, okay? Because it can be used for good, a lot of good, okay? A lot of good can come from AI. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like Nicole Shanahan, who is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s vice president, is a good pick because she's an expert in AI, and that's what we need. Right now, Donald Trump is not educated on AI. Like, come on now. You don't believe that he's actually, like, knowledgeable in AI, right? Same way you wouldn't believe that Joe Biden is knowledgeable in AI. Both of them are not knowledgeable in AI. I think we can officially point that out. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is because his vice president is. His vice president is an expert in AI, and that can be very helpful to us in this country. That's all I'm trying to say here. So let's continue this. Let's look to see if there is any new news stories here. So there's this video that Fox News posted onto their Instagram page. I'm sorry about this border here. Let me fix that. Alright, so here it is. It's a video they posted onto Instagram. It says they staged a coup. Former President Trump reacts to Biden's being... Sorry, let me redo that. Former President Biden... oh my god, I'm turning into Biden, bro. I swear, I'm turning into Biden, man. I'm getting Biden brain. I'm getting Biden brain. I need to step aside. Okay? I need to let someone else run this show. I think it's over for me, man. Former President Trump reacts to Biden being placed as the Democratic nominee for president in an interview on the Ingram Angle. Okay, so that's a Fox News show. And let's check out the clip here. Let's see what they have to say.
Is it a bone
They
to the left,
staged a
hard
coup
left?
against the president of the United States. They went in and they told him, you're leaving. You're way down in the polls, 17 points, I think. You know, it's like you're in a fight with somebody and you're really winning, and they take him out and they put somebody else in. Nobody ever heard of this before. This is a coup. They took him. They said, even though you got 14 million votes, you're out. And he said, I'm not going out.
But you're saying that's what they're kind of doing with the court as well?
No, what they're doing is they're keeping, they took him out. He was losing badly. They took him out. He wants something to say. He's sitting there with nothing to do, nobody to talk to. They threw him out. This was a coup, the first one, of the president of the United
But
States.
Harris endorsed it. Is it a bone to the left?
Okay, so that's the clip. You can let me know what you think, if you agree with Trump here. I am not sure if I agree with Trump. He's talking about how Biden being replaced as the Democratic nominee, essentially how they staged a coup. Okay, I don't know if that's 100% correct. He might be correct in some aspects. Of course, I do want to take that into consideration. I might not be the most knowledgeable on the situation. So I'm not going to be the best person to talk about this, but I would love to hear your guys' opinion on this. If you agree with Trump, or if you don't agree, I love to hear all sides of the story. And that was posted 33 minutes ago, by the way, so very recent news. Let's check out ABC News. Let's refresh the page, see if they have any more stuff for us. They do. Okay, here we go. Here is a new post from ABC News, and here's what it says. It says, a team of international researchers has challenged the long-held belief that complex life forms first emerged on Earth 635 million years ago, presenting findings that show life may have existed over 1 billion years earlier. This evidence, according to the study's authors, could suggest a two-step evolution to complex life on Earth. Complex life forms existed 1.5 billion years earlier than previously believed, study finds. So that's a new scientific study that just came out about how obviously complex life forms existed well before we even believed that it was. So, you know, we believed it was 635 million years ago, but now it's showing that it was 1.5 billion years before that. Crazy. Let me know if you agree with that. Do you think this is fake news? Because obviously fake news can be posted at any time. That's a fact. It just can be. But it can also be real news. It can also be real science that has come out. But, you know, you just have to weigh it. You have to look into the article yourself. You have to read it. And you have to make sure that it is legit. And if it is legit, that's really, really cool. And I think that's interesting. It's very interesting updated data for sure. Now, we can go ahead and check some other news here. CBS. I don't think they're going to have anything new. Nope. Okay. AP News. Nothing new from them. All right, let's go back to the interview with RFK Jr. on CBS News.
To destroy, further degrade the middle class, to allow government to literally warp and distort our reality, or they can be used to make government more transparent and more of a servant to the people. And I think we need leadership that understands that understands the peril and the potential, and that has a very clear idea of what America is supposed to look like. And I don't think we have that from either political party. I think both political parties have now been captured by corporate interests. I think that trend was accelerated and amplified after the Citizens United decision was issued by the Supreme Court in 2010. And it unleashed this tsunami of corporate money into the American political landscapes. This campaign apparently is going to cost about $15 billion to both political parties, and the people who are supplying that money are not doing it out of patriotic impulses. They're doing it because it's an investment from which they expect a return.
Absolutely, and that's exactly how donors work within both parties, both the Democrats and the Republicans. It's how it works. The donors are basically investing money into the candidate so that the candidate, when they win, they expect a return back, okay? And that return is obviously their win, because now they can push the policies that the donors want, okay? So the donors, they want policies that will help them and benefit them. They don't actually care about the people. They want to benefit themselves. And so they invest, okay? Just like you were to bet on a sports game. You are investing into that move, into that play. You're investing into that candidate, okay? And then when that candidate wins, you've essentially secured your investment. And then everything after that will be an added amount of money to your investment, because you're able to get policies through that benefit you and your businesses and your money, okay? That's just how it works. So he's speaking absolute facts here.
And because of all that money in the political process, our economic system has become a kind of pump to pump wealth upward away from the strip mine, the equity and wealth from the American middle class, to this new oligarchy of billionaires that is really stealing our democracy from us.
You mentioned the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court historically had been regarded as a bulwark, as an institutional norm setter. Do you regard it that way? Some people have come to believe the Supreme Court is corrupt.
I would say that
you mentioned a Supreme Court decision.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's others recently, even more recently than Citizens United, that trouble you.
I would say that the Supreme Court, like the other institutions of our government, is in decline, has become degraded, and Americans no longer have faith in its independence, in its judiciousness. I think that it is dominated by judges who believe that it's okay for corporations that really don't distinguish between what's good for America.
Let me ask you about things just happened. Did you watch the president's address last night?
I watched.
Okay, so that part in the interview right here is very suspicious. When I was watching the interview for the first time, I actually, noticed it. And it's very weird. Watch what happens here.
That really don't distinguish between what's good for America.
Let me ask you about things just happened.
It's like they cut the portion out. It's like he was in the middle of talking, and then they edited it out so nobody could see it. That's very weird and interesting, okay? Now, I can totally see CBS News doing this to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and taking out a clip or a section of his speech or of him talking, okay? Because they wouldn't want their audience to hear what he had to say. Very sketchy how they cut it right there, And you can obviously see it's a cut. They're kind of trying to make it look like it's not a cut, but it is.
Really don't distinguish.
I guess, like, the older audience might look past it. They might oversee it because they don't really understand how editing works, but,
between what's good for America and
Let me ask you about things just happened. Did you watch the president's address last night?
I watched part of it.
Your impression?
I didn't think that I think it was more of a statement about what his accomplishments were rather than sort of a reassurance to the American public about where we are today.
Did he provide an adequate explanation of the circumstances of the last week to your belief?
I don't think so.
What's missing?
Well, you know, I've known Joe Biden for 40 years, and I commend him and respect him for the 50 years that he gave in service to our country. But I think he tarred that reputation and that career over the past year by refusing to let go of power. And, you know, one of the things that a lot of Americans blame Donald Trump for is the January 6th event, which
Do you?
suggested that he was unwilling to let go of power. And let me just finish what I'm saying. You know, one of the most important events in the history of our country was George Washington's decision to resign after the second term. So I think part of our traditions is that our leaders relinquish power and that they do that graciously. And no, I don't think that President Trump did that graciously, and I don't think President Biden did either.
Do you equate the two morally?
You mean in that sense, or in
January 6th and President Biden waiting until just Sunday to say he was not seeking re-election?
Well, what I would say, Major, is that I think democracy in our country is in an existential crisis. And it's an existential crisis because of the failure of leadership. And the failure has occurred both in the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And, you know, a lot of Democrats, I feel, focus on what happened on January 6th, which was, you know, there were terrible crimes committed then, and it was an attack, in one sense, on our democracy. But the much worse attacks on our democracy occurred before January 6th and continued afterward, which was the attacks on our Bill of Rights. The sense.
All right, guys, we'll continue this in just a second. Let's go over here to the Shade Room, where we have a brand new clip of Donald Trump apparently talking about or doubling down on his Christian voter comments. Okay, so how he said, how if you vote for him this election, you won't have to ever vote again. I want to see what he has to say here, because I like I said, he needs to clarify. I was so confused, because when I watched that clip, it sounded like he was going to get rid of elections, or he was going to get rid of voting. He even said it 5 times in a row, so it kind of was a little bit weird, but we now have new footage, new breaking news about it, coming from the Shade Room? Yo, why don't I see this on any of the major newses? Like, what's happening, bro? Let's watch this clip, though, and see what he has to say. It says, Donald Trump doubles down on Christian voter comments. Okay, quote, Christians are not known as a big voting group. This is interesting. Let's look into it. Okay, let's hear him out, man. Let's hear him out. It says, the Shade Room politics, okay? Quote, he said what he said. Former President Trump appeared on Laura Ingram's Fox News show and touched on his controversial comments at the rally in South Florida. As we previously reported, Trump urged Christians to get out and vote, saying that you have to get out and vote. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 years and it will be fixed. It will be fine. Once again, we showed you the clip on the last episode of our show. It says, during his interview, Laura asked Trump about the comments, and Donnie pushed back on the backlash over his remarks. Donnie repeatedly argued his comments were because Christians do not vote in large numbers. At the same time, he questioned Jewish voters who support Democrats. quote, I said vote for me. You're not going to have to do it ever again. It's true because we have to get out and vote. Wait, it's true because we have to get the vote out. Christians are not known as a big voting group, Trump told Ingram. He continued to double down, saying Christians do not vote well. They vote in very small percentages. Okay, let's watch the clip here.
Important election in the history of our country. Whether you vote early or not, we should have, by the way, one-day voting. We should have voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship, and we should have paper ballots, okay? That's what we should have, but we don't have that. But I said to the Christians in the room, thousands of them, I said, typically Christians do not vote. Why it is, I don't know. You're rebellious. Something's going on. Don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore because, frankly, we will have such love. If you don't want to vote anymore, that's okay. Important election in the history of our country. Whether you vote early or not, we should.
Okay, so that was the clip.
And again.
Ow. Okay, that was so loud. Let's watch the second clip. This was from the Turning Point USA event, the Believer Summit, where he said the quote, that if you vote for him, you won't ever have to vote again.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Okay, so that was the clip. We all saw that one. But now we have sort of a reason behind why he said that. So he's saying that, historically, Christians don't really go out to vote. Okay, so what he's saying is that he's going to have it fixed so good that the Christians won't have to go out and vote anymore. But, okay, I'm really confused by this, actually. Like, I kind of get where he's going, okay? And one of my friends, he explained it to me in the comment section, okay? And I think his explanation was a lot better than what Trump is saying here. I don't understand what Trump is saying here. I want to watch this again. I just need to understand.
We should have, by the way, one-day voting. We should have voter ID. We should have proof of citizenship. And we should have paper ballots, okay? That's what we should have, but we don't have that. But I said to the Christians in the room, thousands of them, I said, typically Christians do not vote. Why it is, I don't know. You're rebellious. Something's going on. Don't worry about the future. You have to vote on November 5th. After that, you don't have to worry about voting anymore. I don't care, because we're going to fix it. The country will be fixed, and we won't even need your vote anymore because, frankly, we will have such love. If you don't want to vote anymore, that's okay. Important election in the.
Okay, so I get what he's saying. Like I said, okay? He's essentially saying that Christians don't typically vote, and that he's going to fix the country so that it's more Christian-like, or that, he's going to change the country into a country that Christians would like to live in. Okay? So that's going to happen. And so because he's going to change it into that, they won't have to vote after, because it will forever be a country that they would like to live in. Okay? So he answered it, but it kind of sounds like the same thing. I don't know. It sounds like the same thing as just removing voting. No, never mind. I'm going to change my stance on that. He's not going to remove voting. It doesn't sound like he's not going to remove elections. But that's the thing. How can you fix it so good? I guess you can put things in place so that the next president to come about couldn't change it, I guess. But how could you make sure that, no one's going to come into office and just change what you did? Okay? How are you going to make sure of that? We're still going to have elections, which means someone from the Democratic side can still get in the future. So, how are you going to make sure of that? unless you don't have elections. So it kind of still sounds like he's getting rid of elections at the same time. I don't know how to take this answer. This answer is just reworded. It's a reworded version of what I said before. I have no idea. I honestly don't know how to take this post. But you know what? At least we got an answer from Trump. Like I said, he needed to clarify. Didn't really clarify much, but I guess. What is this new post? It's a video. Looks like it's just a fun video, I guess. We're not going to watch that. It's not really news. Alright, let's go back to the interview. Let's refresh really quickly on the pages. Nothing new from CBS on AP. Anything new from AP? Nothing new from AP. Okay. What do we got here on Fox News? Nothing new. Alright, let's go back to the interview. Actually, really quickly, by the way, if you haven't yet, go over here to my X account, formerly known as Twitter, and you could just search me up. It's at Ryan Harper Show, okay, just like this, at Ryan Harper Show, or you can search Ryan Harper. This is my account right here, and I have this brand new poll up, okay, you can enter in it right now. We're trying to make it a very, very big poll, and as you can see, let me zoom in here. It says, at this current moment in time, okay, let me just move this up here really quickly so you guys can see a little bit more. So at this current moment in time, who are you going to vote for in the upcoming election? This is the poll that I'm running on my account right now. The options are Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and other. And the other would obviously mean things like Cornel West, Jill Stein, those type of candidates. Okay? And so far we have 14 votes. We just started it like an hour ago. Okay? We have 4 days left, so make sure you guys are going and entering into that post right there. And so far, we have 14 votes, okay, 14 participants, and Donald Trump has 0%, other also has 0%, Kamala has 7.1%, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has 92.9%. Now, I did post to my Robert F. Kennedy Jr. account advertising this poll, because we want to gain traction on this poll. Not to skew the poll numbers to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or anything, but just to gain traction and get the word out there that this poll is out there so that more people see it and it gets boosted into the algorithm so that we can have a huge poll to look at and take from, okay? So, we'll see where that goes, but let's come back to this interview here, and let's see what else Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has to say on the CBS News interview.
Censorship, widespread censorship by government of political speech in this country, which has never happened before. When my father took control of the Justice Department in 1961, 1 week after he came to the Justice Department, he called all the division heads and the branch heads and into his big cavernous office at the Justice Department, where I spent a lot of my youth. And he said, the one thing that we all need to understand is there will be no politicization. We never ask whether defendant is Republican or Democrat. We don't punish political opponents. We don't reward political friends. It is critical that the American people believe that these institutions of government, these enforcement institutions, are neutral, that they're blind. And I think both administrations, and President Trump did the same thing. He promised to lock up Hillary Clinton. He said he was going to appoint a special prosecutor.
You are listening to the Takeout Segment 2 with Robert F. Kennedy.
By the way, this is Major. I think his name is Major Garrett. We reported on him in a story, I believe, from ABC News a few episodes ago. And he's the one who's interviewing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in this video and in this interview. And a lot of people are really going at him, definitely. He's under fire right now for the way that he's interviewing RFK Jr. and how rude he's being. I mean, if you were to watch the shortened version, because they made a shorter version here, let me show you really quickly, okay? So, I'm just going to come here. We're at 8 minutes and 41 seconds. Let's go to the CBS. And here's the short version. Let me find it. It's a 6-minute video. Yeah, right here. Okay.
Now our friend Major.
look at how they started this video. Okay, so this is like a short version, kind of like breaking apart the interview that we're watching right now, the 42-minute interview. And they're cramming it into a 6-minute video. Here's how they started it out, okay, just so they can fill their propaganda minds.
Now to our friend Major Garrett's news-making interview with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent presidential candidate. We'll tell you about the polling first. It estimates that Kennedy is at around 6% of the national vote, which is well enough to make a difference in battleground states if, and that's the key part here, he gets on the ballots in those states. Kennedy is an environmental lawyer, of course. He's also the son of the late Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and his campaign slogan is this: people before politics, country before party. But his words, what he says out there on the campaign trail, many people file it in the category of divisive nonsense. He spent years spreading false claims about vaccines, COVID, even the September 11th attacks. He sat down, as I mentioned, with Major Garrett.
What a way to introduce somebody that you're going to interview. What a way to do that. That's insane. That's actually crazy. Okay? I mean, yo, starting out by announcing the guest on your show, by saying he's an anti-vaxxer, he's this, he's that, he's done this, he's done that. Like, what a way to start off an interview, man. You can't just show the interview? Like, come on now.
Why do you want to be president?
And then they show clips. They don't even show the full thing. They just show little tiny little clips. And then they do some backstory, some more propaganda, and then they go ahead and show even more old clips of him saying that, you know, baby on a hiking trail, he'll tell him to not get the vaccine, and all that sort of stuff. And then afterwards, they kind of talk. So Major Garrett, the person who interviewed RFK Jr., and then this dude right here, the other host on CBS, talk about the interview and how RFK Jr. is just a terrible candidate. Okay, great propaganda from CBS News. Look, I'm happy they're letting him on, but come on now. Like, it's absolutely insane that you would do that. The way they're framing this and the way they're making him out to be someone who he's not. And all the newses do this. MSNBC is the worst of the worst. Okay, they're just a propaganda machine. They are not news.
Welcome back to The Takeout, continuing my conversation with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Talk to me about the meeting you had with former President Trump in Milwaukee. Were you in those meetings prepared to end your campaign, endorse former President Trump, and accept a role in his administration?
No. President Trump called me a few hours after the
Was that ever any part of the discussion, those things I just described?
I won't talk about exactly what we discussed because it would be a violation of trust. But we talked about, and by the way, I will talk to anybody. So I think it's important that we start talking to each other. So if President Trump asks me for a meeting, I'm going to go to that meeting. If Kamala or President Biden asked me to a meeting, I spoke at the Libertarian Convention. That's not my party.
This is what I'm talking about. And I said this in the last episode, that's just the type of guy that he is. That's the type of guy Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is. He would, consider working in a Trump administration because he's that type of guy. He would work with anybody because that's how we need to be. Okay? Instead of being divided by political parties, political cults, we should be working together to build something great, okay? We need to come together, both Democrat and Republican, to team up, because that's when we make our best work. He's correct.
I will talk to anybody. When my uncle...
what happened in Milwaukee?
We talked about how to tone down the rhetoric, we talked about unifying our country and different ways to do that. We talked about public health and that my ambitions to try to protect children's health in this country particularly. And, aside from that, I wouldn't, I'm not gonna...
How did the video emerge of the phone call you had with former President Trump, the speaker phone call? And do you regret that?
Yeah, it's a video that I regret emerged. It was
Was that a violation of confidence?
Yeah, that was a violation of confidence. And I should never let that happen. There was a videographer, when President Trump called me, there was a videographer who was in-house in our campaign who was photographing me then, and he didn't stop, and I should have made him stop. And that was an unforced error.
Can you do a thought experiment for me? Let's say you win. Who's your attorney general?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about that.
Have you given thought to who would be in the top positions of your administration?
Yeah, I have been.
Any suggestion for the American public on who might lead Treasury, who might lead HHS, who might lead the Department of Agriculture, as you just said, is in the pockets of big farms?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to bring people in. First of all, I gave a speech about this, about the kind of people that I'm going to put in those. I gave that speech. It was a unity speech, talking about how President Lincoln brought in a team of rivals, which I'm going to do too. I'm going to bring in Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, people from every political party. I want them all represented there. I want to end the vitriol in this country. I want to end the demonization of each other. I want an administration that every American can look at and say, you know, my views are represented in cabinet meetings. My views are being heard, and I want people to understand that and have faith in that. And I want.
But that's as specific as you're going to
name
get.
people who are not captured by the industries that they're regulating, who are independent and who are committed to public health, public welfare, to the environment, et cetera.
Is your campaign right now closer than it's ever been to being over?
To being over? No, my campaign, it will be over on Election Day.
There's no circumstance in which you drop out of this race
No.
and endorse anyone?
I can't imagine a circumstance right now where I would do that. I mean, anything is possible, but I can't. At this point, there is nothing in the cards.
Are you disappointed that ballot access has been as slow and possibly frustrating as it's been?
Well, yeah. I mean, it would be much easier for me if we were automatically on the ballot, or if there was some reasonable threshold for getting us on the ballot. The ballot access rules were written by the Democrats and Republicans, and they were written in a way that was deliberately intended to make an independent candidacy like mine insurmountable. And we've been able to overcome that. We're on the first presidential campaign in history that's been able to overcome that. I've got more ballot signatures than any presidential candidate in history.
More than Ross Perot?
No, well, see, he didn't have this kind of threshold. When Ross Perot ran, it was very easy to get on the ballot. But today they learned their lesson then, and they made it much more difficult. So, and each state has different rules. They're all designed to make it nearly impossible. But I now have enough signatures to get on the ballot in every state. So I will be
awaiting certification in many of them.
Awaiting certification, but that's not our issue. The states.
How do you evaluate this race now that
The states won't issue certification until, many of them to the end of August, or the beginning of September.
How do you evaluate the race now that President Biden?
That's something that the comments pointed out, by the way, was this dude, Major Garrett, and how he was interrupting. Okay? So he's been interrupting.
Oh, many of them.
Look at this. Like, RFK Jr. will just be talking. He's not even done with his sentence at all. And then this dude just, starts asking another question. It's like, what? What is happening here?
Awaiting certification, but that's not our issue. The states.
How do you evaluate this race now that
the states won't issue certification until, many of them to the end of August, or the beginning of September.
How do you evaluate the race now that President Biden?
Bro, it's like you didn't even hear him. It's like he's not even there. Like, what is happening right now? This reporter is crazy.
Has stepped aside, and it appears Democrats are very enthusiastically rallying around Kamala Harris, the vice president.
I think
do you think the race has shifted?
Yeah, I mean, the level of enthusiasm for my campaign has increased dramatically. Our volunteers.
Since when?
since President Biden's resignation and the announcement of Vice President Harris as his replacement. So our volunteer engagement is up. We already have 100,000 volunteers, and we are getting more every day. We got many, many more than any other campaign. Our email subscriptions are dramatically up. Our visits to our homepage are up 1,000%, and we're getting similar engagement on YouTube, on X, on TikTok. Our contributions are up. And, I'm told that the biggest song on iTunes this month is Bobby Kennedy for President, and that's all happening since President Biden's withdrawal.
So help me understand.
That's really cool, by the way, about the song. But that's all we're going to show of this clip here. If you guys want to watch the full 42-minute interview, you can come over here to this video. Just search up Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on The Takeout. Okay, and it'll probably come up number 1. It's from CBS News' YouTube channel. And yeah, make sure you guys go check it out for yourself so you can get the full interview and the full knowledge of what's going on right now. Once again, make sure you guys are voting in our poll. We have a poll up on X right here. At this current moment in time, who are you going to vote for in the upcoming election? Make sure you guys vote in that poll. It's on my X account at The Ryan Harper Show. 14 votes right now, 14 participants, and we just started like a few hours ago. Crazy. And we have 4 days left, so you can go enter whenever you want to. Let's see if there's any new news posts right now. We do. We have a new one from Fox News. Nothing from the Shade Room. Let's check out CBS. Nothing. AP. Nothing. Let's check out Newsmax. We'll do it. Nothing. Okay. So we have one new post from Fox News, and then we're going to go ahead and end the show, at least the live show, of course. We'll still have some episodes coming out very, very soon, I promise, okay? But Fox News released this post on Instagram 7 minutes ago. So it was posted 7 minutes ago. It's an opinion piece by Justin Haskins, okay? So Justin Haskins said, her administration would likely be the most socialist and destructive in our country's history, okay? That's what Justin said about Kamala Harris. Now, you can let me know if you agree with that. It says, green and red, Kamala Harris has 2 socialist proposals, and they're going to crush the U.S. economy. The vice president's plans that would hurt millions of Americans are at the link in the bio, man. You just got to go to the link in the bio, man. So that's the news that we got there. Like I've said before, I feel like the Democrats and the Republicans both agree that Kamala Harris is the most far-left president in American history, if she becomes president, and that currently she is the most far-left vice president, okay? So I feel like we all agree. With that. Look, I said she was the most progressive, and in some ways she is. I mean, especially on the culture war issues, for sure. So there's a lot of stuff that, we would categorize as far left about Kamala Harris, and she probably is the most far left vice president in American history, and potentially the most far left president in American history. Once again, we will just have to find out. Now, guys, that's it for today. That's it for this episode, at least this live episode. You can see a little bit of lag happening. Hopefully it's going to pan out right now so we can do the outro. Okay. We're losing frames. What's happening here? Okay, we're all good. We're good. We are good. We can do the outro. Thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. 24/7 news, obviously not exactly 24/7, but we're live streaming, we're getting the news up to date to you guys as it happens. We'll be back tomorrow for episode number 11 of the official show, which you can listen to and watch on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And then we also post updates to X, so make sure you go to my X account to enter in that poll. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you on the next episode tomorrow. Have a great day, and